everyone. My name is Simon. I run the record label Bella Union. We are in business now for 25 years. It's our anniversary. Special pleasure year. And it is beautiful for me to have a very good friend of mine and artist on Bella Union with us here today. This is Fiona Brice. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
So, Fiona, I haven't seen you since we worked together at Union Chapel.
That's right.
A few months ago. So before we get back into kind of how this all started for you, tell us a little bit about what you're actually doing right now.
Well, at the moment, so I've got my new album coming out with you on the 21st of October, so I've been preparing for that. But for most of the summer I've been on tour with Elbow, doing summer festivals. And also I've been performing with Sophie Ellis-Bextor, and this is like session violin work that I do. And basically that work kind of pays for my work, yeah. I've also been writing music for a BBC documentary about dementia, which is it's presented by Vicky McClure, and she set up a dementia choir which helps people who are suffering from dementia. Music really helps them, to reconnect with their families and stuff. So that's coming out in October as well. So it's been a pretty busy time. Oh, and I released an album with piano preludes earlier this year, so I've been touring those a little bit.
Yeah, so your life is very varied, isn't it?
It's really varied, yeah.
You know, I'd love to talk about how you sort of make that work, time management wise, and how it sort of manifests itself. Because I guess when you start out, back whenever you were making
back in the day, time when we met,
in your head, what did you see for yourself as, well, obviously, a violinist originally? Did you feel like you were going to do classical music, orchestral stuff, or did you always have this bent towards working in modern music?
I was always, classically trained. I was at the Royal Academy of Music. I did violin and composition, but from a young age, I was always writing my own music, always writing songs, always really interested in pop music and stuff, and I'd be learning Shostakovich, but I'd be listening to Blondie, and to me the two things were all part of the same whole, and so I've always just carried on with that, some classical stuff, so pop and rock stuff, and then finding my place between those two worlds, and I actually feel pretty comfortable right in the middle,
Yes.
And I didn't really have a plan. Even when I graduated, I didn't really think I had a career plan. I just wanted to do music. So, you start out and you just say yes to any gigs that come along.
Yeah.
Then find your way slowly.
But then I've got a lot of friends in that world too, and I think sometimes you sort of go off in one path that maybe you didn't think you would be going off.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's quite hard to jump back into kind of, I actually need to stop the bus a minute.
Very true.
And do my own thing, because I'm doing stuff for other people all the time.
Yeah.
Have you found that bit difficult?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you get pigeonholed quite quickly, I think. And the nice surprise for me was orchestral arranging, because I studied orchestral composition, but even then I didn't really know that you could be an arranger for orchestras, for bands. It was a slightly different job. And when I started playing with bands in London, people asked me to do string arrangements on their records. And I think the first person that asked me was Michael Sheehy from Dream City Film Club, who were on Beggars. And I got, I was paid, there was a contract, there was an album, and I was like, this is a job. And it hadn't dawned on me. No one had told me it was a job. And so from then on, and I really enjoyed doing it, and from then on, I found like that's an area that I'm really, really happy working in. And it's obviously grown arms and legs since then, and I've ended up doing full orchestral scores for people, and I really, really love that collaborative work. But I didn't know that was a job when I did.
Yeah, I mean the list of people you've worked with is extensive. It would take at least the 15 minutes that we penciled in this to go through everyone. But obviously we've worked together on a lot of things. Yeah. John Grant has been an amazing artist for you to work with. And
I mean my collaborations with John are like probably some of my favourite, just because it's, his songs lend themselves so well to orchestration. They're harmonically rich. You can't dominate his voice.
Yeah.
I can put a full brass section. John's still going to cut through a full orchestra. There's no question that you could ever hide him.
Yeah.
So it's, and also we come from a similar kind of background musically, and I understand what he wants, and the more we work together, the better that gets.
That's
so,
a big part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of, because I'm sure a lot of it is down to budget. A lot of it will be down to...
loads of people would love to do huge orchestral
Yeah,
things, but there's
exactly.
no way.
When they call you up, it's like, can we get an orchestra? And how much it's going to be?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, let's just stick with the 2 violins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can you track it?
Yeah, so, I mean, remind me what the first thing we did together was. Was it Fiona Regan? Was it Tram?
No, Tram. So we were at East Coast Studios with Tram.
Was that, what year is that? Because I don't have a memory for dates. 2000 and something?
2003.
Okay, so we're on 20 years of working
Yeah.
together, which is amazing. That's beautiful to know.
Yeah, and I did, in fact, that was only the second album I'd done arrangements on. I'd done strings and brass on that. And I think you were producing and playing bass, or you would definitely play some bass on it, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you asked me to do some other stuff.
And just started from there.
Yeah, you started asking me to do arrangements for other people on the label.
But probably the sort of the biggest thing we did together would have been Pelgrim Ghosts, the
orchestral tour
stuff
that surrounded. So with John, some of the biggest stuff we did, we took the Royal Northern Sinfonia on tour with John Grant, and it was an absolutely sold out. It was like the best example of an orchestral alternative artist collaboration I can think of. I mean, it just it worked so well.
So give for the uninitiated, of which I am one, give us an idea of how you go from John playing you some songs on the piano or sending you some demos, and then you arranging a 50-piece orchestra and writing arrangements for all the parts. How does that even happen? How do you even get there?
Well, you do need to have I think you need to have a really strong understanding of song. Firstly, you need to listen to the song, and for me, I work around lyrics really carefully. And if you absorb the lyrics, they can give you musical ideas. So, firstly, absorb the song. Secondly, find out what your resources are. Like, find out how big an orchestra you've got. How does it break down? How many violins? How many trumpets? How many? Because they're all different. And then I see that whole orchestra as kind of my colouring pencils. So I've got every colour and shade that I need. And then I just start working on the song musically, and I just, particularly with John's stuff, he doesn't like it if the orchestra's doing the same as the vocal, so you start working with counter melody and trying to write, what's going to complement the melody here. So you start creating counter melody, and then the other thing is you just creating, if you see the song as a line, a journey, if you like it, they often take this shape, they get bigger towards the end. Yeah. So you look at that and you choose where's the big point. And then sometimes I actually just work back from that.
Oh.
I mean, to me, I get a real sort of gut feel for an arrangement. It's like if I hear a track and I get an immediate feel for where I think the strings or the brass should come in.
And it's the visuals.
Yeah, I do almost see it, and it's like, oh yes, I can, and now I'm just, and then, because I'm a trained orchestrator, that I know how to fill in the gaps then for everyone else to make that work, just to stack the sounds in a way that it's effective.
So then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Royal Northern Sinfonia Orchestra was about 27 people?
I think we toured, yeah.
But then when we did it with the BBC Philharmonic, that was 50?
Yes.
So is that tricky, where you have to do the same songs but build an extra 13 instruments into the arrangement?
It depends what the instruments are, because so you might be in the situation where the string section is bigger. Strings work in desks, so we operate in pairs, so there might be an extra couple of desks of violins and cellos. That's okay, they can play the same part.
Because you're just thickening it.
Sound.
Yeah.
But with a bigger orchestra, you will normally have a different complement of brass and woodwind instruments. So you might have four French horns, 3 trumpets, as opposed to 2 and 1. So then you need to think, do I augment the parts? Or actually, do I just say to them, you guys aren't in this one?
Yes.
You can sit it out.
I suppose the temptation is to go more, when sometimes more is not what's
not always necessary. So
that's fascinating.
That's it. It's like, don't use all the pencils all the time.
So you've got all these people on union wages sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, and I always thought, because I'm a violinist, we have, historically we have very busy parts. We don't sit still very much in the orchestra. We play, if we were paid per note, we'd be, minted. So, so we have really, really busy parts. But then you've got your triangle player at the back who's got a blank piece of paper with maybe 2 hit points on it, and for them, they just have to concentrate really hard to not put that in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I feel bad if you're giving giving a part to an oboe player or something, and it looks really bare, and there's nothing because I don't need them till verse 3, and I don't want to just put stuff in to make them feel good. So you have to be restrained. Like, I only need you in verse 3.
You don't need to be their friend.
Yeah, exactly. What you're doing in verse 3 is really important, but then I need you to stop. And but the players in the orchestra, they're used to their individual voices being used in that way. It's not weird. So it just, to me as a violinist, it always looks weird to see a very blank score.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I love all the different things that you do. You've obviously, I know when we first started working together, you began playing live with Placebo. I know you've done an awful lot of work with them over the years, probably 10 tours at least, if not more. I toured
for 10 years, so we went around the world about 3 times.
Yeah.
Incredible experience.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was something, like you said earlier, do you ever feel that something has to, you have to like refocus your attention? And that was a really good example. I mean, I loved touring with them. I had a brilliant time, and it was an incredible life experience. But after 10 years, I just felt like, when am I going to do my own music if I carry on with this sort of like world touring, because they'll tour indefinitely.
Yeah.
So I had to bow out and say.
And actually, that was probably the catalyst for the first record we did together.
Yeah, I'd already got the ideas for my first album, and I'd already started to think that it could be something, and then I just kind of realised that there's no way I was going to be able to do this properly. And to continue, doing stuff like writing for TV and film and stuff. If I'm on the tour bus for half the year at least, I mean, there's just not enough hours. So yeah, I said thanks to the guys, and it was my opportunity to leave. And we're all still good friends. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to step away from that because otherwise I was never going to be able to
for the good
progress.
of Fiona Brice. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, that's a difficult choice, and I still get loads of messages from people saying, "Oh, when are you playing with Placebo? Are you coming back with Placebo?" It's like it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'll work with them if they ask me. We have done other things subsequently, but that is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And what I do now is also a full-time job.
So
I had to step away and refocus a little bit.
So would it be fair to say that sort of since, I think the first record you did with us, Postcards From, was 2016, I think?
That's right, yeah.
So obviously 6 years in between then and now, and our care is about to be foisted upon the world. So has that 6 years been... it's obviously not just you working on this new record between the last one. You've obviously been doing any number of all these millions of different things. Yeah. At what point was lockdown part of the catalyst for getting the new record underway? No, I mean I think I had a lot of it done. The lockdown was actually just a massive interruption, as it has been for most people. That just put everything on hold for a bit. But I've been working. On my record so far, I haven't just like gone into the studio and done it in 10 days. I tend to work on it piecemeal, just because I'm busy with other stuff. When you can. And then I spend a few days, with Julian Simmons, then I go and spend a few days with Dimitri Tikoboy, who's the sort of co-produced, and then sit on it for a bit. What do I think about the track? Give it time. So basically, I just gave it time until I felt like I had enough for the album to make sense, and then obviously we were slightly delayed by vinyl production and as everyone has been. So it probably could have been out a year earlier maybe, but not with the pandemic and So it didn't take me 6 years to write the record, but it has been a 6-year span since the last one. I did do other, like I said, I had the piano preludes out as well and the string quartet album out in that time too. So it's not been dormant. Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't suggest that. I mean, I know how busy you are, so it's remarkable that you even get a body of work finished in that time. I'm excited for people to hear this new record because it is different from Postcards quite considerably. I think it's a massive step forward, to be honest. I mean, I'm singing on it, which is something I didn't do on Postcards, although I have been singing for a long time, but I'd stuck with the sort of instrumental work first. But for me, I feel like I've represented myself well with
what I was saying about being one foot in the classical world and one foot in the kind of alternative world. I feel like this record really brings that ground together. So it is classical in that it's classical instruments, it's pianos, violins, cellos, but and it was classically scored. I have actually got scores for the songs that we used in the studio. But then it takes that material and develops it sonically in quite a different way, in a way that you wouldn't treat classical music. So for me, I feel like that's why it's a step forward, because it's not a straight chamber recording or anything. It's actually created a different sound world.
Okay, so we've got this beautiful record coming out in a short while. Obviously, we know how difficult the live market is at the moment. We know how impossible it is to do things on the limited funds one gets to play shows these days. How do you see yourself performing this album? Obviously, how would you like to do it, and how do you see yourself doing it?
How I would like to do it would be with a chamber orchestra. Well, no, maybe not even that. Just like a string ensemble, a pianist, and some backing vocalists.
How many people is that? 6?
Maybe could probably do it with 6.
Okay.
6 plus me.
Starting to work out the budget in my brain, think if I can afford it.
What it is. Unrealistic. So, but then with postcards, I had to do postcards live, and I decided to. I just used solo violin and loop pedals and effects and stuff, and I had to do quite a lot of practice to get that working. But actually, when I got it, it worked really, really well, and I was really happy with the versions of the postcards tracks that I do live. So with this record, I should try and do something similar, but I think minimum I need a cellist with me and perhaps someone on piano. And we might do a bit of switching about. I'm gonna start rehearsing it soon. But I think that's what I'm gonna do, is switch between piano and violin. The one problem is I really don't like singing and playing violin at the same time, because firstly it's physically uncomfortable, and secondly
it's pushing against your throat.
Everything's here, and it just looks awkward. I mean, I do it on the stage with Elbow and with Sophie Spexer. We do sing and play at the same time, but it's also a bit folky, and the music is not. It's kind of the wrong image for the music to be singing and playing at the same time. So I need to work that out. But I may be able to use. I mean, the easy way to do it would be to use backing track and click and just go pop on it. But I'd rather do something a bit more special than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I will do that if I need to, but
the first show's not for a while, right?
Not for a while. I've got time. Yeah.
It's in December, so you've got a few months to plan it out.
Yeah, a few months. I do have a show in Edinburgh just before then, 18th of November.
Okay.
So that will be my first outing with it, I think. Yeah.
So you moved, because when I saw you a lot, you're living in my town of Brighton.
Yeah.
I think you were there well before me, actually. So now you are based in Glasgow.
Yeah.
And how do you love it up there?
Glasgow's pretty amazing. I mean, it's a great music city. It's food and drink, brilliant. Yeah. Scotland as a whole is great, and it also means I get to work in Edinburgh quite a lot. So I've been doing some orchestral stuff over there, but the weather gets me down, and I miss the beach, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
There are beaches near me, but I live right on the beach in Brighton, so
So the beautiful Vashti Bunyan is, of course, in Edinburgh.
One of the reasons I go there, yeah.
I see. Yes. Well, we did some work together with Vashti, didn't we? Back, gosh knows when. I don't even know. 2000 and something.
Yeah. Again, similar kind of time, I think. 6.
And you've continued working with her ever since.
Yeah.
Oh, absolute pleasure she is, isn't she?
Yeah, wonderful.
Has she got new music to work on?
Well, she's just released a book. She wrote a book in lockdown, and she's been doing like book tours at the moment. But we did do a massive gig at the Barbican earlier this year. It was like a retrospective. It was something that was held over. It was supposed to happen to mark 50 years since Just Another Diamond Day, and then the pandemic got in the way. Yeah. And so then we did the concert, but we altered it was no longer 50 years, it was 52 years, so it didn't make sense to do that. So we played music from her other albums as well, which actually I think made for a much more sort of rounded concert.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing, yeah.
Amazing.
We had a recorder consort on stage, which is unusual.
A what?
Recorder consort, like a choir of recorders.
A choir of recorders?
Yeah.
That's the first, surely.
String trio, and then actually, a pianist friend was going to come down from Glasgow to play keys, and he got COVID 2 days before, and I ended up switching from violin and learning all the piano parts. doing that and then getting a friend in to play violin, which was pretty stressful, but we did it. And it was absolutely packed, sold out, you know, great gig for her. And she was signing books in the foyer afterwards, and the queue was out the door, around the block.
Amazing.
She hadn't even had a drink after getting off stage. She was just like there, signing away.
Oh, she's one of the best people. She really is.
Yeah.
Well, so are you, Fiona Brice, and I'm thrilled to have your record coming out on Bell Union soon.
Simon.
And You Know I Care will be out in a couple of months' time, or maybe less, depending on when this eventually gets edited together.
21st October, I think we're looking at.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming down and having a chat with us.
Pleasure.
And good luck with everything coming up to you soon.
Thank you.